This is my workstation setup, and the point of this tutorial, or this part, is to explain to you all the hardware outputs and inputs that I have at my disposal, all the options I have to listen to audio and to input audio, which will be useful afterwards when we look at the system sound preferences and then into the audio MIDI setup. Remember, we're trying to get no latency whilst monitoring, recording audio, me speaking into a microphone, and at the same time, maybe not only doing a static screen recording like I'm doing at this moment, but also playing a YouTube video on the monitor, on screen, which is playing music or audio, and I can record the audio from that YouTube video plus my commentary on it, and in the meantime be able to monitor it, and at the end have a screen recording with all of this together whilst I have been able to monitor my voice. This is why we're here. Get rid of the latency problem whilst recording live and monitoring. If you don't have a setup like this, don't worry. You won't need a setup like this. You won't need external speakers. You won't need a USB hub to be able to connect 3 monitors. You won't need half of this. This is just to explain where it's going out and where it's going in. So this is a MacBook Pro. This is an Apple display monitor. This is a third-party monitor which is connected to the USB hub via HDMI. And basically I have this so I have more real estate space. If I'm doing a website, I have the scripts here and the web browsers here and the upload here. So basically I've got a lot more room to play with, which is useful. Not always, but in my case, sometimes. Getting back to the hardware inputs and outputs. Laptop, MacBook Pro. The outputs are 2 speakers here, so when anything plays, if nothing else is connected, you get sound coming out of the laptop. The same applies to the Apple display monitor. 2 small speakers down here somewhere, you can hear audio coming from there. The same applies to this monitor, but I don't really use this monitor for anything else, just for visual. So audio input and output, I don't really care about this third monitor. One more way of outputting, or rather 2 more ways of getting output out, is I could plug in headphones. So I could listen to audio coming out of the laptop via headphones. Or as in my case, what I do mostly if I'm watching a documentary or a film or a video or even editing my tutorials, I like to listen to them on the main speakers, which are actually these 2 small speakers connected to a hi-fi amplifier, which is connected to the USB hub at the back of this computer. So these are all the outputs. And here is the actual hub. It's an Elgato Thunderbolt 2 dock, or hub. This is the output to the hi-fi, and these are all the other connections. So internet going in, ADSL, Ethernet. This is a extender for USB, and it's actually got a keyboard on it. This is where it connects to the computer. This is the connection to the actual Apple display. This is the third monitor on the right, HDMI connection, and this is the power source. And this is the way it looks from the underneath. I've turned it upside down. Remember, we are covering the outputs and inputs, the hardware inputs and outputs, to then understand the system sound preferences. So, as I have now gone over the outputs, oh, and I forgot one more. This is the Blue Yeti microphone. It is plugged into the computer here via a USB cable. It's going directly into the MacBook Pro. It could have gone into the USB hub. I prefer to connect it as a shorter way I can to the computer to avoid fuzz and noise and disturbance. But this microphone, and this is what it's all about, it's also got a headphone output. So in this moment, while I'm recording this, I'm doing a screen recording. I'm talking into this microphone. I've got it about 15 centimeters in front of my mouth. The computer is recording the screen video, including the audio that I'm inputting, and it's coming back to me via the USB into the microphone because this microphone has an output for headphones. So Here's the USB input into the computer. Well, input and output as well, if you like. But here is the output for headphones for monitoring. So whilst I'm now speaking, I have perfect quality with no latency in the headphones, which are coming through this microphone. Now I'm going to be showing you the input options that I have in my system. The MacBook Pro has a built-in microphone. So as it has speakers here, somewhere here there's a microphone, also a webcam up here, and I can directly record audio into this laptop without any external hardware. So I open it, start it up, and I can record because it's got a microphone here. It's got an external microphone. The audio is not very good, and if you want better audio, you'd have to hold the computer up in front of your face. You don't want to do that. But that's one possibility of input. The other one, same applies to the Apple Video. Besides the speakers that it has, it also has a built-in microphone. Works on the same principle as the laptop. The other option of input is this little microphone. The one already mentioned, it's a very cheap one. It's got a gooseneck stand. I think it cost about €3. It's terrible quality, good enough to talk with someone over Skype. And this little guy is plugged into the hub. And it's plugged into here. Okay, so depending on the system sound preferences, what I choose, input, I could choose him going through the hub, and I could be recording audio through him. I don't want to do that because quality between this little guy and this big boy is just, you can't compare it. So input here somewhere on the laptop, input here somewhere on this monitor, this input going through the hub, which is connected via Thunderbolt to the Mac, and main input, and that's where I'm recording now, is through the Yeti microphone, which is going into the computer via a USB port. As I mentioned before, I could have connected the Blue Yeti microphone directly to the hub. For example, here's a USB port where I have a mouse connected. I could have connected into there. And again, get the option in the system sound preferences to choose it going through the hub or coming out of the hub if I'm listening to it as well. But I prefer not to do that. I like to have it directly in the computer just to avoid more meters of cables and circuits between me, my voice, and the recording going into the computer. For the sake of boring you to death, I repeat, if you want to have good audio monitoring without latency, that's what we're working on. That's what we're going to get in a minute. I do want you to understand the various options that I have, and you will have similar. You might not have 3 monitors. You might not have a small microphone like this. You might have a better microphone like this going into some hub, or you might have a better microphone than this going into USB, or even a cheaper one. Somehow you are going to be getting the audio into your computer and getting it out. And please remember that here we're sorting out the problem with latency, which is not just a question of going in and out via hardware. The solution is also to use a software method of playing all these things together. Don't go away.